I'd like to call the February 12th, 2025 meeting of the Ogden Town Board to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask you to remain standing for a moment of silent reflection and prayer for our military servicemen and women serving around the world, as well as for our first responders. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to start the meeting by looking for a motion on the approval of minutes of Resolution 90.
I'll do that.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Gerbino. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, we have privilege of the floor. I'd like to make this disclaimer that this is a time for any members of the community to come address any topic that you have of the board. It is not necessarily a Q&A time. It's not really a time for the board necessarily to give information. It's really more an opportunity to receive information from the community. That said, anybody up here, should they feel like they would like to respond, they certainly can, but I just want to set that expectation. Any questions that come forward, we'll do our best to get the question answered for you and get in touch with you. So with that, if there's anybody that would like to address the board at this time, please come, state your name and address, and we'll go from there.
My name's Joe Beretta. I live at 53 Thorncliffe Road in the Village of Spencerport. I'm here this evening to represent the Village of Spencerport Department of Public Works. From the past superintendent to the current, myself, I would like to thank Dan and his crew for assisting with multiple projects within the village. To name a few, paving Mill Street, Coolidge Ave, providing manpower, rollers, and dump trucks for hauling asphalt. Also Merck's parking lot for installing drainage, and excavating to place stone gabions for the rebuilding of the deck. The village has a small crew, selective heavy equipment at our disposal. Having this working relationship with the town is very important. On behalf of the Village of Spencerport DPW, I'd like to thank Dan, congratulate you on your retirement, and we look forward to continue this working relationship with your replacement.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time?
Good evening, Linda Gibardo, 110 Ogden Center Road. If you want to answer, maybe you could put something in writing. Can you explain the process of the disbursement of the ARPA funds? Like, do you get them ahead of time, or do you have to turn in expenses and get the funds later? Like, how does that work?
I can answer it, it's fine. And I'm positive that I can make sure that these statements are accurate if you come by sometime and we'll talk with Sherry. So ARPA was a funding mechanism that essentially was deposited into the accounts of everybody that received ARPA. You might have knowledge, so correct me if I'm wrong. And it was based on a formulation that came up with. And like I said, there was a set of rules that then were completely changed and were much more wide open. Essentially, you could use it for anything other than lost revenue. And there is an annual filing. And if you spent over, I think it was $750,000 per year, there was a special audit that you had to do. So there's a whole bunch of different rules, lots of compliance, and they absolutely can deny you for certain purchases. So we have somebody that we've designated as the compliance officer. We actually also established a committee for ARPA funds that kind of took a look at the requests from various department heads, make sure that fit into compliance, and we spent, years in worksheets on making sure that those things were following the right rules.
So we have the money already in an account, or we have to file?
Well, we've spent it, so we don't really have it anymore, but yes, it was given to us. So it was actually collecting interest.
Okay,
And the interest weirdly has different rules. But yes, so we received it, yes.
all right. So some of my next questions are irrelevant then, because I was wondering how the federal freeze would impact that, and it won't, because you already have the money.
Correct.
Okay, great. With the resignation or the expected resignation of Dan Wolf next week, who's gonna be the project manager of the fuel station? Have you decided that yet?
The board's gonna have to make a decision in any elected official resignation or retirement on who to appoint into that position. Unlike some positions, there is already a deputy for that position, and by the nature of the deputy position, until the board actually makes a specific appointment, that person assumes the roles and the duties of that position.
So that person would end up being the project manager for,
He
Or
will
they-
have a meeting Wednesday with the company that's doing the business.
are they project managing it and we're just overseeing it?
We're
or
project
we-
managing,
we
but he'll be
project
caught
manage?
up to date on everything that's going on Wednesday with the meeting with them.
Great. So, at the last meeting, I was a little taken aback by when, an update was requested, the response was, what do you wanna know? Well, in my prior life, and I'm sure in yours too, project management is, you put up your detailed project plan, has detailed tasks, task dependencies, start date, duration, end dates, dependencies, risks, risk mitigation, and then financials, right? So that would be good, I think, for the public to see if that's something you guys are willing to put out there as the detailed, because this is such a big project. So many thousands of dollars. It'd be nice to see if we're on schedule, what tasks are at risk, that sort of thing. So that would be a request I would have on big projects going forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time?
Jamie Erskine Pettit, 26 Golden Pond Trail. Received the newsletter, thank you, very nice, very informative. But just kind of fiscal responsibility. Everybody in my neighborhood I asked got however many adults were in their household, and it was, both of them are addressed to me and my husband. So double the cost of spending for the mailing. So I don't know who is in charge of the publications and the mailing, but the bill probably could have been cut in half in the amount of paper that needs to be, and the mailing. And then I noticed here that you mentioned the ARPA funds, the splash pad, the residential recreation center, but no mention of the fueling station. I don't know why that was omitted from the newsletter. And lastly, there were no more agendas when I came in. It would be nice if you're not gonna have copies for everybody. I mean, there's this beautiful TV, just to have the Microsoft Word up in the back so that way everybody can view it, and then you won't have to print as many copies, just fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wishes to address the board?
Hi, I'm Leslie Coffrin at 312 Village Walk Circle in Spencerport in the village. Kind of going off of this fuel pumping station, again, thank you, Jamie, for pointing out that it wasn't in the newsletter, which I was saying to myself, geez, I really don't remember seeing it in the newsletter, which otherwise it's a very nice newsletter. So this ARPA fund, where did it come from? Who provides the ARPA money?
It's the American Rescue something plan. It comes from the federal government.
Okay, so thank God we have it before they cut off funding to everybody. But I guess I'm just wondering why we decided to spend it on a fuel pumping station. Of all things we could potentially spend it on.
So very similar to you not seeing it in this newsletter, you can't look at any single piece of communication and say that that's all communication for the entire town, because the fuel island was actually in actually the last 2 or 3 newsletters.
Okay.
So when we say it's not in there, okay, I mean, at some point, we're not gonna keep putting every single thing that we have in every newsletter for 3 years, because this one actually was in newsletters for 2 years.
Okay.
So there's that. The second thing is that when we talk about specific funding for different things, we look at things in terms of projects. So we start with the need. What's the need first? The town actually took the time to save for a fuel island for more than, I would say, 2 years. There's 2 different years. The way that the county works, if you don't know this, sorry if I'm
that's
explaining
okay.
more than you.
Yeah.
The county actually receives, every time you go and buy something, you go to the grocery store, you go, buy a car, or just a tomato, there's sales tax that's paid on a percentage of what we buy. All of that sales tax revenue actually goes to the county, and then it divvies up between what goes to the state and so forth. The county actually takes that sales tax revenue, and they actually divide that and share that with towns, villages, school districts, and the city of Rochester. I don't know why the city of Rochester, but the city of Rochester. And that sales tax revenue, because we live in a village, because there is a village in this town, we are actually restricted more than other towns in what we can use sales tax revenue on. So sales tax revenue and other revenue sources actually makes up 80% of our highway budget. That means that there's a pretty minimal impact to residents in the highway department. We don't know how much people are gonna buy year to year, so we estimate our revenues, especially for sales tax revenue, year to year. The last couple of years, we've actually received more sales tax revenue than we've budgeted for. And so in 2 of the last couple of years, we've socked away, probably, it had to have been close to $500,000 worth of extra. I don't love saying extra when it comes to revenue. Speaking of fiscal responsibility, we don't have debt. So we try to use that for projects that best satisfy either the highway department or the parks. So we can use it in any part town fund. We have multiple fiscal funds here. What we can't use it on is the general fund. I could spend an hour and a half explaining the difference.
So it has to be used on parks or highway?
Yes.
Is basically, okay.
So here's I'm getting to the answer here. We spent all this time making sure that there was money set up that was the furthest away from residents for the fuel island, and then because we do due diligence, we reached out to the state comptroller's office to make sure the project was fine, and they said, actually, you cannot use highway funds for a highway fuel island, to which we all said, that makes no sense. And they said, we agree, but it's the rule. So what we did is we had ARPA funds, the full amount set aside for the splash pad. And what we did is we looked at 3 projects, how they could be funded through savings, ARPA, and through sales tax revenue. And what we literally did is we just shifted them. We just moved them from one project to the other. So we used an appropriate source for an appropriate project and shifted them around. So we essentially used the savings that we had put into savings from sales tax revenue for a good portion of the splash pad, and we shifted that with the fuel island, which then also paved the way to receive a grant and then use the rest of savings for renovations in the rec center. So it's sort of, either way, it was gonna be used on one of those 3 projects. I look at it as we put it in a big pot, and we paid for 3 projects without raising taxes.
Right, so, I guess, I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm vehemently opposed to this pumping station for numerous reasons. 1, I'm an environmentalist. 2, I think it's looking backwards, instead of looking forward. I mean, we're not a town that's growing. That's pretty much been established by our school numbers, and, we've even noted that we're not a growing community.
We absolutely are. Our comp plan has a forecast over the next 10 years. Have you read our comprehensive plan that we passed?
But how come the schools
2024?
just can't seem to, like...
Some of it's going into Churchville School.
Pardon?
Some of the school, the building that's going on now in the town of Aggie is going to Churchville School.
We have
District.
Churchville, we have residents that go to Greece, we have residents that go to Brockport. I mean, you can still have a growing community and not have as many people. By the way, I'll also, if you're saying we're not growing and we've got a, decreased number in the school district, their tax rate is almost 6 times ours. So if we're concerned, I would say the budget that is $8 million of local sourced tax revenue versus
Where I'm
100
going with
million.
this is I remember in previous meetings, one of the rationales for the pumping station was that if the New York State DOT, which is where I think one of the sources that you get your gas from, and don't we also get it from the Spencerport schools additionally? Okay, so when have they ever had to cut off your supply of gasoline because of the need to plow?
We've been cut off twice this year already. We've been
Okay.
cut off earlier last year. We were cut off for the, diesel. We were cut off for gasoline at the police department, had to go to other place to get gasoline at the school district because it was down for, I think,
It's like almost 2
about
weeks.
2 weeks was it down, I think? At least 2 weeks. At least we were down 2 weeks.
Okay. So, but.
We had a fueling station here 15 years ago. We had a fueling station here then.
But what's our backup plan if we are unable to get gasoline from the New York State DOT or from the school?
We continue to have agreements. We continue to have an IMA with the school district.
We would have to
So
take
has
a,
there ever been a time that you've been unable to plow or maintain streets due to the fact that there's been a gasoline shortage?
there's a time where we didn't fill up our trucks at night, yes. They didn't get filled up because of the gasoline was down, the diesel was down, you know?
Okay.
It's pretty hard to take a $50,000, $60,000 a pound vehicle down to the, speedway to get gas. It's
Okay.
complicated to bring the truck in and out of there. It's not a safe issue. With a tractor trailer, it's not safe. We have to bring it in there. It's not safe.
Okay. I guess the other thing I'm thinking of is the fact that the school does have a pumping station, and I believe there's like a New York State mandate now for the schools that they have to start converting their buses to electric. So wouldn't there be a surplus of gasoline in the future at, say, the schools?
I would ask you to go talk to the Village Electric about their fuelings or about the electric, because we don't have the power right now to generate for the buses. And that's a lot of the problem. We don't have
Okay,
places to
You
generate.
can take that up with the state, that's not a me problem. That's, the state is requiring that. I'm not saying I agree with it wholeheartedly, I think we're gonna have some serious problems with.
Oh, we're gonna have a lot of
buses.
problems.
But that is the move forward. I would say as a society that we should be looking forward to, greener energy sources for our town vehicles. Like, I don't understand why maybe in the next 10 years, we can't consider converting some of our vehicles that are lighter weight over to something like a hybrid or an electric in the future.
I don't think you're making an assumption that isn't currently being explored, or that we
So I
haven't
guess that
applied
said,
for
then
grants
why
that
would we
actually
have a
look
pumping
at.
station?
I'm trying to answer your question, or that we haven't looked at grants that would help us have EV charging stations. By the way, the EV charging stations in the village were upwards of $700,000. The other thing too is, I actually think that we're modeling the state. The state has invested $60 million into fossil fuels, and they continue to upgrade their facilities to keep up with demand. The last thing that any of us want, and I'm sure the last thing you want, is to have a system, an electrical-only system that somehow crashes in the middle of a week like this.
Right.
I know that's not what you're
No,
suggesting,
no.
but I think you're implying that all these LED lights have been converted, saving the town money and energy and efficiency there. All the street lights that we own, there's been, it's not a one-stop shop. The way we see it is that you will have places that will be using fossil fuels, including today. I actually had a conversation with the Monroe County Sheriff, with Todd Baxter. And he asked about, when we're going to have this fully operational, and he's anxious to sign an IMA with us for our fuel.
Okay, so they're also looking to utilize it.
So is the
Okay, so it's not
fire,
just for us.
correct, so is the fire department. We already have a letter from them. We have a letter from the village. We have a letter from Gates Ambulance, so
Okay, so
as
it
far
will be
as
multi-purpose then.
100%.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, very welcome. I'd say if there's anybody else, but I see you moving towards the mic.
Good evening, Ellen Robler, 221 Hilltop Lane. I first wanted to express my My sincere thank you to the highway department employees who have continued to do excellent work under the weather and difficult employment circumstances. So I give them all the credit in the world for a great job. I also would like to reference local news recently where another, town of Arundecoit is having some difficulty with their town supervisor, and that's become public news to the point where they asked their town supervisor for his resignation.
Highway, I'm sorry,
No, it's their town
you're right. Yep,
supervisor,
you're
Andre Evans.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the latest report I read is that they're considering a censure vote on February 20th in an upcoming town board meeting at Arundecoit. My question to you is, did anyone on this board ever consider asking Mr. Wolf for his resignation?
I got a question for you. I really do. I got a question for all of you. To come up here every month and you pound me. What proof have you got that I've been convicted of any of them charges besides hearsay? I had a supervisor the other day say that I choked an employee. He made a statement, not me. Went back to the employee, got a signature from him, said, no, he didn't do that. So what, anybody could say anything out there. You people keep coming at me every month.
Mr. Wolf, I'm a taxpayer and a citizen.
Right, and I agree with you. And you know what? I busted my ass for this town. 24/7. I got up 24/7 to do make sure the roads were clear, make sure the work was done. And we did work. For the last 7 months, we've done no work on the outside. We've done no work at all except for basically wash trucks and plow some salt and snow. So when everybody gets up here and you guys keep coming at me with the same stuff over and over, your same Facebook pages every month, the same stuff, it's ridiculous because you know what? Nobody's got proof of anything that's been done. And I've been cleared by the Attorney General, by the Ethics Board of the Town of Ogden, Ethics Board for the County of Monroe, and I got a letter the other day, or email from the DA's office that nothing's gonna be charged. So I don't know where you people keep coming from.
I'll reference the report that was released in
I-
answer to you.
Again, your referential reports, nothing's been charged and nothing's been
I
convicted.
never said anything was charged or convicted, I'm referencing your well-known behavior. What I would like to now ask, so would anyone like to answer that question? Did anyone ask Mr. Wolf for his resignation at any point?
Any conversations that happen in executive session is privileged.
Did anyone ever consider on this town board, censure as they are currently considering at Arundecoit?
Again, that if there are conversations that have happened, they would have happened in executive session, which are
I'm
privileged.
not asking about conversations, I'm asking about did anyone ever think about it?
I think that if you were in the back room during executive session, you would have the answer to that, but because those are privileged conversations.
I will tell you from my point, I was never asked. I will tell you that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I will tell you that. I was
Thank you
never
for-
asked.
Thank you for confirming that.
I've been nothing but honest and truthful with this board.
When Mr. Wolf retires on the 22nd, is there a plan to remove his name from the sign?
The sign will go with me. It's my personal sign.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, I will close the privilege of the floor. Next, we'll move to reports and remittances, Resolution 91.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Tom, seconded by Councilman Baker. Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, town audits, Resolution 92.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Tom, seconded by Councilman Baker. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, we have reports from town officers. So there is a pretty significant group from the town, I don't want to say significant, it's a couple of us, that are going to an annual training and conference. There's a laundry list of items that has to do with the governor's budget. The Association of Towns is a group, it's an entity that exists for townships all across the state to have a bit of a voice and a say in some of the initiatives of the state. Most of these towns and most of these initiatives are voted on unanimously because Most of them have nothing to do with politics and everything to do with where we think we need the most amount of help. And so we're excited to go to that conference for a couple of days and receive training and updates as they relate to the positions here. I'm going to skip Gillette Road Bridge and come back to that at the end. I need to bring this up to the board and sort of ask the question, although we can have discussions on this. I was contacted by Steve Savage from the Monroe County Water Authority, and he informed me that the water tower that we have by the cemetery here at the end of Ogden Center Road is no longer needed by the Water Authority. So he gave us two choices. Number one, they're going to take it down, or number two, we can take the authority over it by purchasing it, insuring it, and then when we want, paying for its decommission.
I would let it go.
I have heard that that's the way to go.
I would let it go.
What about a Boy Scout project?
Mural? I mean, the cost to paint this thing alone and to maintain it, I don't know that we have scaffolding. I don't know that the best fire apparatus we have reaches the top of that. So that, I told him I would get back to him, but that I don't know that that is
I
our
think it's also lead
purview.
paint in that. You'll find out.
Lead
there's
paint?
in there.
Probably.
Probably, there's probably
Okay.
lead paint in there.
So please, by maybe tomorrow, if you have objections, please let me know. Otherwise, I have my answer. During tax time, we actually, this might be strange to some people, but we actually collect taxes for the fire department, the Gates Ambulance, and for the library. And most of that gets paid out in March is when we do that, because there's still quite a bit of time where people can make payments. But it's a significant amount of money, so what do we do with it? And we've been pretty specific in our fiscal responsibilities to make sure that the money that we have is actually growing. This is going to sound like a weird problem, but at some point, it's too much money, and you want to make sure that it is insured, you want to make sure that it's covered. We have found the best CD rate with our bank, Canandaigua National Bank and Trust. Their customer service is impeccable, but we are over the 20 million mark, and we've got another organization called NY Class. Most townships use them. Their interest rate is 0.02 less, which is why we haven't gone with them. But they have a bit more flexibility in how long you have to have it in. These are usually 30, 60, 90, 6-month CDs because we want to keep them liquid. It really is, we can't really invest in anything that is less liquid than that. We really can't. So, NY Class is actually part of our organizational meeting minutes as a group, an entity that we can go into, but I just wanted to let you know that we will be investing some in there, and essentially the town will receive interest on money that we're paying out to all of those entities that I told you about. It's also just good to have a second category for when we need that. Okay, the Gillette Road Bridge. So we was on a call today. That call was canceled once by our federal partners. Was not thrilled about that. Senator Schumer has, okay, I'm going to be nice, has not been able to attend these calls. Congressman Morelli has been on every call, and we have talked personally on this multiple times. One of the problems that exists here is that the numbers that we were given in October haven't changed. I'm a little bit frustrated by that. It's a project that's over $8 million. CSX has decided that they will contribute somewhere between 2.7 and 3 million, but they said that they will get it shovel ready. The county has taken lead on really making this happen because it's a county road. So this shovel ready, the definitions of that have been identified by the county, and the county is satisfied by that. We have been given 1.5 million in appropriations from the Senate, that'd be Senator Schumer, but 2.5 from the House side. House? Congress? Yeah. And so they need to agree on that first of all, because it's not you get 1.5 and 2.5. I found that out. That was frustrating. I would have liked to have both. And so it should end up being $2.5 million. So here's the problem. If you do quick math, let's just use 8 million as a round number. Subtract the 3 million for the removal of the bridge. That gives us 5, and then 2.5, so we're still 2.5 short. Well, our town historian last year found a very old document that actually showed who built and paid for the current bridge. And it turns out that, and I was very happy to share this with the county. The state paid for 75% of this bridge. And from the beginning, I really was not sure why we haven't embarked on getting the state involved. I still don't have the answer, but knowing that the call was today, I wrote an email, and I love just using facts to prove things. And magically, they had a conversation with the state. So the partners on this call were from the House, the Senate, from the county. Most of the people were from the county, and then there was somebody that was there that was part of appropriations for the state. So we are actually asking the state for $2 million. So if you do pretty good math, that leaves about $500,000 left. The reason why this is gonna work, and I'm just willing it into existence, is that the county executive and the mayor of the city of Rochester have actually put together they kept calling it a binder of asks for all of Monroe County. And they're putting it together and basically saying, here are all the projects that we need help on by the state. And that's being submitted. And what we kind of said is maybe there's an ability to sort of call out the $2 million from the budget, which is April 1st, and maybe make it a specific line item. We've got actually a great relationship with our state partners in Senator Ort and Assemblyman Jensen. And Senator Cooney is the one that's in charge of the transportation, or he's the head of it, or however that works. So getting him on board to make sure that this gets attention is going to be pretty key. We did talk, if you didn't hear earlier, about litigation, because there have been some serious issues that have to do with safety surrounding this. But when somebody is contributing $3 million towards it's kind of hard. You don't want to go too heavy-handed. But there has come a time, and I think that Congressman Morelli and I actually have seen eye to eye on this, that there comes a time where it's taking too long, and you got to flex some muscle a little bit. But this new plan that asks for $2 million, I've already reached out to Senator Ort's office today and spoke with their staffers, and once we have the package from the county, which I have assurances from their attorneys that we will have that, we should be able to get it to Senator Ort, sit down with County Executive Bello, and really make a pitch for this $2 million to come out of the budget or out of a single line item appropriation in outside of the budget, because there's always bridge funds and special projects outside of the normal budget. So we did ask the question, can't we just get CSX to start? Because if they're already gonna deconstruct the bridge and get it shovel ready, can't we just go with that? The CSX has basically said that they want reassurances that we won't come back to them. Dirty little secret, we will go back to them, because we still do not find any paperwork that says that they have officially decommissioned and abandoned this bridge. We don't find it, and I'll fight that to the ends of the earth here. But this is progress in that there is a way. Now we're just counting on all of our partners in the federal government and in the state government to make this happen. A couple times we've heard freezes in federal funds. There is no freezes that we are seeing that directly impact the town or this type of funding. So wherever those sources of information are coming from, they're not necessarily representative here. So that's really the update. Our benchmarks are the middle of March for the federal appropriations, and then April 1st, and then April 30th. So those are the different timelines that there are to make these things happen. The county continues to say that this is still a year project once we have all of the money. So I just want to set that expectation. But nobody is sleeping on this, especially me. Okay, that's it. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out. Councilman Baker.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to echo the sentiments expressed by the highway superintendent for the village of Spencerport to Dan. Your retirement came as a little bit of a surprise to me, but I mean, the years that you've put in the town, being the liaison for the highway department, and also working as a representative of the fire department with the carnival, I will say that your group, when it came to public safety and the carnival, was absolutely appreciated and bar none what we needed to do, given the state of affairs in this country with terrorism and acts of violence against parade goers and people that are just, wanting to have a good time with their families. The level of security that you provided by using the town vehicles and to secure the parade routes along the way, for us, put my mind at ease, and I'm sure a lot of people in this community. I wish you, Diane, the family, all the best in your retirement, and I just want to say thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it.
And that's it.
Councilman Trevino.
I'm going to touch on a couple of topics, and hopefully of personal interest to the Boy Scouts today. Special Olympics State Winter Games are being held in Rochester this year on Saturday, February 22nd. The importance of that is it represents athletes, i.e. Special Olympic athletes, folks with intellectual disabilities who are going to be competing at the state level. Just like all other sports, these folks have had to work their way up the ladder in order to compete. Opening ceremonies will be at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center and begin at 7 p.m. They, like all of the events, are open to the public at no cost. That opening ceremony is also a place where we endorse and try to get as many people to what we call Be a Fan. And you can be a fan at the event, or you can go to the actual venues. I would urge anyone who has never been to attend and truly be thoroughly wowed by the level of competition of these folks, again, with intellectual disabilities. It seems very easy to perceive that people with these disabilities are performing at a level that you might go, wow, that's not really sports. Some of our athletes off of Special Olympics route have actually topped non-Special Olympics state levels of achievement. Some of our weightlifters have achieved weight classes that have won outside of, or would have won outside of, the Special Olympics competition. So it's not a secondary type of competition or athlete. They're solid athletes. Several of our local athletes have already qualified for and will be participating in World Winter Games in Turin, Italy next month. So it's a footnote. The Be a Fan is great. The going and watching the competitions is great. If anyone does have an interest, again, SpecialOlympicsNewYork.org. You can see venues, times, agendas, and all of that. That's the happy side of what I'm going to be speaking about tonight. The second, I'm going to be touching on some of what came up here a little while ago. You guys, you got a real education in the reality of life and how some things can be very complicated. Relative to Superintendent Wolf's retirement I want to say a few things. With the announcement by Highway Superintendent Wolf to retire, I thought it a good time to clear the air and say what has not been said over the last couple of years. Dan's commitment to this town as the Highway Superintendent has been impeccable. Regardless of time of day, inclement weather, or any other issues or hardships, he's responded to and brought to bear his experience and solid work ethic. His knowledge and expertise have fostered professional and trusted working relationships within the County of Monroe, including other municipalities, thereby giving the town of Ogden the reputation of being a go-to town for major projects and advice, and with the financial benefit to the residents of Ogden. This was in addition to the direct benefit to our residents relative to the quality of work and financial savings incurred as he handled internal tasks. Countless residents have also approached me in the past 2 years to compliment the Ogden Highway Department and specifically Superintendent Wolf for his immediate response to complaints or problems and for his quick and professional resolution of the issues reported. Those compliments also related to road maintenance in the winter, leaf and brush removal, water and drainage issues, and about everything in between. Even numerous Ogden town employees, despite what you may have been led to believe over the last year here, including some department heads, have voiced their praise for and support of Superintendent Wolf regarding his effectiveness and his willingness to assist, whether on a personal or professional basis, on or off duty. Some of those same people have also conveyed a real concern just for voicing any public support for Dan on those quality topics, countering those of the rumors they knew, some to be false, for fear of they themselves being targeted by a select group of workers and then both personally by the members of the, what I call the anonymous social media contributors. Despite that, a very vocal select group has established a continuous assault on Superintendent Wolf's character for over a year now, both here in this chamber as well as via anonymous social media postings. Some of those verbal attacks, and this is a huge piece, folks. I would just like everybody to listen to this one very important part. Some of those verbal attacks have even taken place at his home, directed at his wife, children, and grandchildren. If you haven't realized it yet, that's right, they have been subjecting him and even his family to the bullying, intimidation, and harassment, the very things that some have tried to accuse him of. I'm hoping, despite my belief to the contrary, that this will help to put to rest some of the vitriol, nastiness, and I will use cowardly anonymous postings so the good people of the town of Ogden can move on. So, on to the most important part of my statement tonight. I want to take this moment to thank you, Dan Wolf, for your years of dedicated service to the residents of the town of Ogden and to congratulate you on your scheduled retirement. Your 40 years of experience as a volunteer with emergency services, including fire and EMS, has also benefited the residents of Ogden every day as you have interacted with police, fire, and medical services at critical scenes relative to what you and the Highway Department can bring to bear when needed. Grateful citizens, as well as members of those other agencies and municipalities, have conveyed those same sentiments to me on numerous occasions. At this time, I would simply like to wish you and your family God's blessings and the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Hinman.
Before I get into my report, I do want to just thank you, Dan, for your years of dedication to this town, this community. Appreciate what you've done and your attention to detail, and how you've always gone about the way you do your job, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
I went to the ZBA meeting last week, to give you guys a little update. We had a couple moved into Ogden from another town, and they brought their chickens, our favorite topic. So they asked to have a permission to put a run in just for 5 chickens that they have. They don't want to grow it, they just do it for eggs for themselves and their family and friends. So they were granted that by the ZBA. Another applicant came in for a home occupation. It was a little bit of some people showed up to kind of complain. This guy It's an older gentleman who, has a woodworking hobby, and he happens to sell a few things once in a while. And so a lot of people were just up in arms saying that they didn't want that, him running a business out of his home. And so the ZBA put some time limits on when he can do stuff, and he gave assurances as to what time and how much he does. And I don't think he doesn't do a lot, but the ZBA granted him the ability to keep doing that, but they're gonna revisit it in a year to make sure that the noise levels aren't too loud, that nobody's complaining, just to make sure that everyone's happy. So that was that one. And then there was a pole barn that was request coming in for people on Union Street, on the north side of the village. And they just wanted to be able to put a pole barn in, but they have a barn. And so the board appropriately asked, why can't you use the barn for your vehicles? Why do you need to put a pole barn up? They said pole barn, they don't have a garage. They just have a carport, so to speak. But they said the barn is falling apart, and they don't trust to put anything in there. I believe it's got, I believe they said it has some significance as far as historical significance, and that's why they haven't removed it. So they were granted the ability to put up a pole barn, so they're gonna basically use that as a garage for their vehicles. So, but that was everything for that one, so, and that's all I got.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Toms.
No report, thanks.
Highway Superintendent Dan Wolf.
Yep, couple things. Thanks to the board for what they said there. They're nice thoughts. What people don't understand is this isn't a forced retirement. This is my decision. I went out after going to retirement. I served 26 years. I wanted to leave last week, which was the 13th. Well, actually, it was tomorrow. They would have completed 26 years. We brought a lot of revenue in this town, that I'm proud of what was done in this town, despite what some people might think or what people might feel. But really, the icing on the cake was the last board meeting. Some things were brought to my attention, and what really did it was the other day, I won't say it because these kids are here, but the way somebody was screaming across the road at my wife. And it is uncalled for. I don't care what you people think about me, what you say to me, but when you bring my wife and my grandkids into it, I got a real problem with that. And it's a bullying situation, and some people shouldn't sit there and look around about bullying. So, but the town's done it, we've done a good job with the highway department. The fuel station, they're gonna pour footers on that tomorrow. We got 4 trucks that we're waiting on right now. We got a steering problem with them. Volvo knows it. It takes 2 minutes a boy to turn the truck's wheel. It's messed up. And I was on the phone with them tonight about 6 o'clock, and they're gonna pull 2 pumps out of it to see if they can fix the pumps in it. Well, than that, it's been a pleasure serving the residents of Ogden, and God bless all.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Town Clerk Noel Burley.
So we wrapped up, the first installments, and full payments, on Monday. Been really extremely busy, a lot of people coming in. So we're working on, going through, continuing to collect until the end of May, and, we'll be focusing on receipts now. Also wanna just say that my, staff did a wonderful job with everything that we went through.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%. Okay, there being no unfinished business, we'll move to new business. So, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 93, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sale to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe to receive and use state funding for the 2025 Public Traffic Safety Program.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gerbino, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 94, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Sale to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe to receive and use state funding for the 2025 Stop DWI program.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Gerbino, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, please.
Resolution 95, authorizing the acceptance of a donation in the amount of $25 from Windsor Village Condominium to be used to purchase items for the DARE program.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Toms. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries, please.
Resolution 96, authorizing the acceptance of a donation from Spencerport Wesleyan Church to the Ogden Police Department in the amount of $100.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 97, authorizing Ogden Town Supervisor Mike Dale to execute an agreement with MRV Group at a cost of $14,500 to perform a town-wide water study.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Baker, seconded by Councilman Gerbino. Any discussion? One thing I'll say about this is the agreement that we're having with the group that has an expertise in really studying the abilities to extend public water to every single portion of this town. Our goal isn't necessarily to do that. Our goal is to explore the feasibility of that. I can pretty much guarantee that there will be some areas where it will be too expensive to do that, and what will happen is the state will tell us that it's too expensive. So my goal is that we give every opportunity for there to be public water in every section of this town, and that will only be thwarted by the state, the water authority, or by residents who will tell us that they do not want to pay the extra amount for public water. But this town will have the opportunity for public water in all corners of it. So, just wanted to state that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 98, authorizing the appointment of John Gentile to the Board of Assessment Review.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Tom, seconded by Councilman Hinman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next, please.
Resolution 99, authorizing the reappointment of Kelly Kuzic to the Board of Assessment Review.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hinman, seconded by Councilman Gerbino. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we move to executive session to confer with the town's attorney.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item carries. Thank you all so much for being here. We will take